Welcome to my first podcast, On the House with Michael Liebowitz. I actually just I rushed here. I literally got here like a minute ago from the Real Deal Forum in New York. That was really amazing. I just saw Steve Witkoff talk. A good friend of mine, Russell Galbert, is launching a cruise ship that he's selling units on. That's a lot of fun. And then I ran out of there to get here to this podcast that I'm very excited about. It's been a really exciting 6 months as CEO of the company. We're making incredible progress. I think the company is truly transforming itself into a full-service real estate firm that I think is going to be even more spectacular for our agents. We're launching a lot of different things. We've had some great things happen over the last few weeks. We launched a new website. We've seen a close to 200% increase in our daily visitors just from the organic Google search. So that's been incredible. Close to a 20% year over year increase in new users. So that's been really gratifying to see that. And people are very engaged on the site. They're coming, they're staying with an average of 2 minutes. Well, it says 220. I'll have to ask our team what that 220 is. Indicating engagement. It can't be 2 hours and 20 minutes.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
What is it?
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
2 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, there we go. So that's I would think to be, a long time. Obviously, Black Label is our private listings that we're launching. That should be out in a few weeks. We've obviously, there's been a lot of, regulatory and legal noise, surrounding that, and some of our competitors kind of changing their views, and so we're just being a little careful. So it's going to take, probably a few more weeks to launch that, just so we make sure that we're, launching it in the right way. We are working on our app that's going to basically combine everything where you'll be able to operate on your phone, which is really, really exciting, something that we're putting together, and that, will get released in the next few months. We reported our earnings, which was really spectacular, and I obviously watch what everybody else is doing, and all of our competitors except one have reported their earnings. We have beat every single one by a lot. And our revenues in Q1 last year were 200 million. They were 253 this year, which is an enormous jump. And I'm really happy about that. The company is really in great shape. We actually made a profit on an operating basis compared to a real loss last year. So the company is really in great shape. I feel really good. It's actually given me the ability, to kind of take a step back and now really kind of map out and, architect, our future and look into a lot of the things that we're doing. I'm in New York, as I mentioned, for the forum this week. And, here with our team in New York. New York actually was up 34%, which is an incredible jump in New York. When I first came in, people would ask me, what do I think about, the market and real estate? And I said, it's on the record, that I was a big bull on New York. I thought Florida was, that migration was slowing a little bit. I think those things have both been true. And New York has been strong. Very excited about our growth in New York. We've made some moves in New York. We've hired a couple of new people, hired someone out in the Hamptons. That's great that we announced. We've hired some new development people down in Florida. Our new development business continues to do really well. That business doubled from this year to last year. We're working on our technology every day, as I mentioned, and things are really, really starting to come together for us as a company. We're very focused on our international as well, and we'll continue to talk about that. I think maybe we'll turn it over to questions, because I really would like this to be a truly interactive podcast. I actually did a podcast a few months ago that I think we put that out a decent amount. I know I put that on my Instagram. And I think the podcasts, even in a situation like this, are so great because you really have the ability to have an unfiltered, even in the podcast that I did not get any of the questions in advance. So I think that, you really get the unfiltered, you get the true from the heart answer. You can have a really great conversation about it. And I'll tell you, there's really nothing that I won't answer. So I want to keep this really interactive. Feel free to ask anything you'd like. I will answer it, straight from the heart. And Stephen, do you want to start that now?
Hi there. Yes, I do. Hey, Michael, great Congratulations on the launch of the podcast. And we have a couple of questions already. An anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure who this is from, wants to know what we can expect from marketing in terms of going forward. And I know that you have some thoughts on maybe a potential rebrand. Did you want to talk about that, or?
Yeah, I mean, hello, Anonymous. Welcome to the podcast. Yeah, I think like marketing, there's a lot of creative things that I think, again, when I mentioned before, having the ability now to really, that the company's, really on solid footing, we really want to kind of think about it. I think marketing, I'm like a marketer at heart. I don't know if anybody like knows that, but in one of my businesses, when I had no money, literally I had zero, I had no money, I wrote an ad by myself. And I ended up getting JP Morgan as a client through writing that ad. So, and I love branding, I love marketing. That's what really got me to take this role at Douglas Elliman. I think that obviously our brand really has tremendous scalability. And as every day goes, I feel it even more. And I get that universal, right? Like, I don't really totally come up with every thought in my head. A lot of it is feedback that I get from other people. And I really am just sharing, that feedback. So I think marketing, we really want to reimagine a lot of the things that we're doing in marketing. If everybody saw, which is kind of connected, it's an event, but we're doing this event in Vegas in October that's going to be at Wynn that we put out a little bit of a teaser on social media. And I think it's all marketing, right? We're all in, whether you're an employee in this company, right? A staff member, whether you're an agent, whether you're assisting an agent, our whole life should be about marketing, right? An element of marketing. We're all marketing ourselves every single day, right? I put on a suit today. I'm kind of marketing myself today in a little different way, maybe than I, have the past. I'm wearing a tie, so I think marketing is like, should be in our mind every day. And I do think that, marketing, we need to really do some reimagining. I would love to get feedback. So I would love people to basically give me, and I've gotten a lot of feedback already. I get feedback whether I ask for it or not most of the time. But I would love to get more feedback on the marketing side, because I think that is the pulse, of everything that we do. And I think marketing also, I think the way we're going to be looking at it a little bit going forward is going to be much more localized, right? Marketing, and I think we do it already, but I think even more honing down. But, marketing in Miami is not the same as marketing something in Austin, or in Aspen, or in Boston, or in DC, or in New York, or in California. So I think we're going to be reimagining a lot within our marketing. Obviously, the event I mentioned, a second ago, that's kind of bringing us back to really getting this company together now that we're on, the growth path. So yeah. I'll open up to the next question.
Laurel Freen, who manages our Syosset office, asked about Vegas and what we can expect from those couple of days at the Wynn.
That's a great question. And hello, Syosset. By the way, I lived in Woodbury for like 10 years. My kids went to school in the Syosset School District. So I know that area really, really well. So nice to hear from you. We're really working on the content. We're not really there. We booked it, right? You got to go one step at a time. We literally just booked it recently. I think Stephanie's going out there maybe this weekend to actually go.
Early next week, yeah.
Yeah. And to go see the facilities. Obviously, we all know, for me, I'm like a little bit of a hotel snob. I hate to say that, but, so I'm really happy we're having it at Wynn and Encore. But we're going to be putting the program together. But again, feedback. So feel free to give us any feedback you have on what you think the most important thing. We got a lot of different views on conferences and meetings like this, right? There were plenty of people that said, we don't really want the big conference. We think it's too much. You get lost in the shuffle. It's too much trade showish. I think we're picking the right number of how many we're going to have. But I think it was really meaningful for the company to bring that many people together, right? We had an event in Aspen that was amazing. It was about 90 agents. It was very successful. It was great. But I think the feedback we got from that was a lot of people had some FOMO that wanted to go and didn't get to see it. And so I think doing a big event is really kind of marking really the new direction, of the company, which actually brings it back to a little kind of the way it was in earlier years, where there was a lot of, conferences and things like that. And obviously the world is coming back to doing, things, and people are more back in the office and all that. And so I think getting back to our knitting and having a conference like that, and I think we're going to make it extraordinary. So very excited about that.
Yeah, and a note on that, Stephanie is looking for keynote speakers in addition to the usual suspects like Jay Shetty or et cetera. If you have any great ideas for speakers, send them to Stephanie and Alex. Helena says, by the way, you look great.
I don't see anybody. I don't get to see anyone
I
here.
know.
Just you and a picture.
Sorry.
J-Man.
Danielle Morandi is curious about our plan for international expansion. Danielle is an attorney and a broker and feels that her skills would be well suited to help in our expansion efforts. So how are you going to engage agents and staff in looking at potential growth opportunities in foreign markets?
I'm going to be really it's very hard for me to be politically correct, but I'm going to be really politically correct right now. And I'm going to push that question to our next podcast. And, kind of
politic.
Yeah, I have to leave that where it is. Everybody on this call is really smart, so you'll kind of get what I mean by that. But I always want to answer. I'm not answering for a reason, but I do promise I will start the next podcast with that.
Right. So Scott James, a great agent of ours in Pasadena, who just is listing this really incredible house in Malibu right now with Matt Altman, wants to know if we're going to be sponsoring Vegas F1 this year.
Scott James, who I see on Instagram all the time. You can't forget the way he has Scott James on there. So appreciate the question. That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. Obviously F1 in Vegas. We just sponsored F1 in Miami. I was there all weekend. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of our agents there. It was really, I never really did an F1 to the race. I was at an F1 where I went the day before. So it was a lot of fun. I'm a big Vegas fan. So, I mean, if it gets me to Vegas, I love it. But I think we got to look into that one. I don't know really what goes into F1 in Vegas. I was actually there. Was it last? Oh, when I went to visit our team and saw the office, it was the week before F1. When I first got here, and they were setting up the streets. It looked pretty crazy. So we'll see. We'll look into it.
Okay. Chase Whitaker. By the way, as you submit your questions, if you can let me know where you're from so we can kind of identify you. But Chase Whitaker wants to know what your vision is for diversification of the company. And I think he's talking about different business channels and revenue streams.
Yeah. Listen, for a long time, I was on the board of directors of the company for a long time. And I would always talk to the prior management team about diversifying our revenue stream. And they were always very focused on just the real estate brokerage, new development, and all that. It was a little bit of a blind spot. I like diversification of revenue, but everything that we want to do, this is the other thing, just so everybody understands, right? For me, it's been a learning experience, right? So I'm here just about 6 months, and my views today are different than they were when I first came in. So if if anybody saw that first Real Deal thing I, got interviewed for, that, they, obviously they want to have a nice controversial thing. It really wasn't that controversial, but I talked a lot about diversification of our revenue stream and all that. And then what I really learned, right, from that, I kind of came in as a business guy, right? All right, I'm going to come in, I'm this business guy, whatever. I've kind of become more, I wouldn't say like an agent, okay, but I really want to get this business, the residential real estate brokerage, to where it should be, okay? So I am very focused on diversifying our revenue stream. Listen, I feel less pressure now than I did 2 weeks ago, because our earnings were truly a game changer for us. I knew what was going on, obviously, behind the scenes. We were working, our whole team was working and doing a lot to get the company, in the place we wanted it to be. Well, it's there, right? So now I'm a little relaxed, okay? So everybody knows I'm much more relaxed today than I was a month ago. Not that I didn't see all of the progress, but when it goes out there and we've gotten such enormous feedback about it, and I just think the whole tone is better. And I've evolved into really not being so much of like the business guy that, even though obviously I do look at our financials, I look at all of it and I care about it, and I care about the stock, I care about all that. But I do think you can get to the place that we need to get to through the real estate brokerage business, right? I think we have a very good real estate brokerage business, despite plenty of people saying that it's, not the greatest business in the world. I think the others aren't running it right. I think that's why it's not. I think we're going to run it the right way, and I think we are. So when we talk about diversity, yeah, I do. I would love to add lines of business like insurance brokerage, which I have a lot of experience in. I think there's an opportunity for agents and for the company. Title, we're obviously doing more in title, and Amy Hill, she was one of our great managers, and now she's doing title in New York, and we're trying to grow that around. Melissa in Texas is working on something I think is pretty much done. Obviously we've got escrow in California. We're honing it in Florida. So this title, I think there are other things we can do, but I'm just going to give it to you where it is. I've come kind of full circle where now I'm just very focused on getting our residential real estate business and our technology, the experience for the agent, working on agents, having the ability to get their GCI up. I had an agent in here the other day that was asking me just a few opinions on what I thought of her business. And we kind of came up with an idea that I thought was an interesting marketing idea. So I'm really into, the growing agents GCI right now. We have a team, obviously, they look at deals, and if there's one that's good, we're going to look at it. But I'm being honest, I'm not as focused on going into all these other businesses at the moment. I'm really focused on, the agents and getting GCI moving, because I think we've got, as a company, a real unique opportunity, because I believe we are 100%, I believe it more today than I ever have, #1 in luxury. Okay. Our numbers prove that. I think our competitors see it. We're talking to a lot of people about bringing people into the company right now, which is very, very exciting. So that's kind of what I'm focused on. But if a great diversified business comes in, we're happy to look at it, and we will. So I gave you a little bit of a long-winded answer, but I gave you the full one.
And just a note to viewers, some of you are raising your hand to ask questions, but please put your questions in the Q&A box, not under participants. Justin Agnello from the East Hampton, always a troublemaker, wants to know, with so much competition between the brokerages, what is Elliman doing or planning to do to be the #1? Which, by the way, we are #1 in the Hamptons and Long Island.
Yeah, Justin, I love the question. It's funny. It goes a little bit about kind of what I was saying, right? We talk about #1, okay? I guess it's the lens you look at, what you want to perceive as #1. Again, look at our earnings and our revenue growth compared to our competitors that have all reported, only one hasn't. We're better than all of them, okay? Now, you can't continue. I want the foot on the gas, right? So the only way you could continue to grow revenue is you got to do it by getting GCI up, which was my comment, right? Or you could hire a lot of agents, right? You could do some stupid things, bring in a lot of agents and get your revenue up. We actually got our revenue up 30%, 27, I think was the actual number, without hiring a lot of agents, which is pretty incredible. Really, and what that really shows is a testament to our luxury business, because that's the market that's performing. So I will tell you, #1 is the only place I want to be. But again, it comes down to, is having 50,000 agents, is that the barometer for #1? I don't believe it is. I think the barometer for #1 is doing a lot of the things that we've already started to do over the last, 4 or 5 months. And that's in adding our technology, growing our agents. We do have agents that I have a call today, right after this, with an agent from a big competitor of ours that wants to come over here. So we're going to keep being very smart, being very methodical. And I will tell you, if you're asking me this from a business perspective, I'm happy to lay low right now and let everybody crash their car, okay? Because we're not going to crash this car. So I think our competitors are not doing the smartest things. They're continuing not to. And I think we're going to be really smart, really methodical, work on our retention, work on our existing agents, work on our systems and all of that, and put us in a place that when the pitch comes in, we swing. Sorry for the cliches, but that's really where we are. So,
thanks. Anna Maria Curry from the Concierge Group would like to know how you see tariffs the turmoil resulting from the tariffs impacting pre-construction?
I mean, I think that's a great question, right? Because of construction costs, right? The tariffs, it's a natural belief that the cost of commodities due to tariffs are going to be higher. I think there's probably truth to it. The only thing I would say, and this is kind of a general me of how I never worry about what's going on in the everyday world in business. Like my other businesses performed no matter what. And I will tell you, it's interesting. Like I'm a big manifester. Like in my mind, you guys think I'm a little crazy. Okay. Like I read a lot of these kind of like books. I'm very into manifesting in your own brain and your own mind, and you can make anything happen. But I really feel like Douglas Elliman is like my other businesses that were leaders in what they did, by a lot. Okay. And our revenues were 200 million, and then they were 253 in the first quarter. That's a monster move. Okay. So like we're kind of doing it in spite of, it's like that, that a memo I put out on Monday where I talk about we're really defying the odds, going from 200 million to 253. I can't say it enough. That's a monster revenue move for a company in residential real estate while interest rates are where they are, right? You have all the tariffs, you have all the uncertainty, and you have all of that. And we really defied everything. Okay. So, but to get back to your question, listen, I think there's an effect. I'll give you an example. I own stock in Wynn, right? We talked about Wynn before. So I love the brand. Okay. That's why I love Wynn. I mean, even though it had some of its issues with Steve Wynn back then, clearly it had no effect on the ultimate brand. They're building a big hotel in Dubai, on an island off Dubai that I was just in Dubai. So I'm a very big bull. I love their stock. I love the company. I own their shares. I noticed in their earnings report that they were going to delay renovation of the Encore Tower due to the tariffs, right? And it's really, I think what I read was that it was because of the business, not because the cost of, furniture and carpeting and all that was going to go up, right? Because obviously the hotel is there already. So it's not a structural renovation. It's purely interior. And I said to myself, why are they delaying it? If they have $3.2 billion of capital at access to them, so they clearly have the money. Why wouldn't you do it if you really think it's going to be slower? Do the work now. Okay. So then when the tariffs and everything is over, your business, your hotel is fully renovated and you're ready to go. You're going to keep the old product now. I don't understand the logic of why they're doing it. So I was a little unhappy with that part of it. I thought of like the CEO, like, how do I figure out a way to call the CEO and ask him that question? Because I don't get it. So I'm going to like put your head down and go. Okay. It doesn't matter what market you're in, up, down, this, that. There's always a bull market somewhere. We're in the luxury space. That luxury buyer is clearly still there. I'm sure there will be a steel or lumber or something that may be more expensive, but the country is significantly underhoused, right? So we need more product. Yeah, maybe the costs are going to go up a little bit on some new construction. And I would say if you want to talk about new development in New York, everybody, and Florida where we are, and I would say Texas too, we have some in California, people want new product. That's what they want. Everybody wants new, and at the end of the day, I think, maybe it'll go up, but I would keep going, head down, and keep doing what we're doing. I mean, a lot of developers, no one has said to me that they're stopping their project over the tariffs. Not one.
Yeah. You could also, for more on this, Jonathan Miller has a weekly podcast with us where he talks a lot about tariffs and how they're shaping the industry and the market. Alex wants to know what steps we are taking to embrace artificial intelligence and shape the future of technology for real estate. Alex is an agent with us on the Upper West Side.
Alex, how you doing? It's funny. I actually, Stephen, I actually should tell you this, but I actually said to myself, I thought about putting a memo out today to all of our people suggesting, I'm not telling anybody to do anything, a suggestion that everybody does 15 minutes a day of ChatGPT. Like, it's fascinating. If anybody on this call has not used it before, I think most people have probably used it. And then oh, by the way, so I didn't do it very much, but I sent my 2 kids a text saying, you guys need to be doing ChatGPT 15 minutes a day and getting, whatever. And one of my sons came back and said, oh, I use it all the time or whatever. My other one actually still hasn't responded. And that was like 5 hours ago. I don't know where he is, but
well, guess what? I can use ChatGPT to write that memo. So In
There
like
you
5
go.
minutes. Yeah.
It's really fascinating, right? So yeah, listen, I think, and I had a big AI conversation last night. I went to that dinner last night for the Real Deal, this VIP thing, and we actually have an investment in this company called Built. Douglas Elliman, actually, believe it or not, has like a small venture fund that we made a lot of investments in. And we're investing in this company called Built. That's a fascinating company. And so I saw the guy there. I actually met him last night, the founder and CEO of it. And we ended up in an entire AI conversation. I'm actually tomorrow night, he invited me. They're doing like a comedy event, at some place, and I'm going to go. But he was talking about, obviously AI in a big way. And I think, obviously, I mentioned to you before about our technology. Have now become a company that is very focused on utilizing all of the technology that's available to us. And it doesn't take a year anymore or 2 years. It doesn't take $1 billion to do it anymore. It's much easier. It's much quicker. It's much more turnkey. You could put technology platforms on the platform, so to speak, very quickly. We're obviously going to be doing that, but we want to do it in a very organized way that doesn't have just ring shot, boom, boom, boom. Here's 5, 5, 8, 8, 9. Oh, we've got 13 different things. We got to make it easy for people, right? And it's our job to basically narrow that into, a nice package and a bow that makes it easier and say, all right, we filtered this. This is what we like. Obviously, agents can use whatever they want, clearly, but I think the AI piece is real. I mean, I had somebody, I don't want to get everybody like nervous, but somebody made a comment that like, your business could be, robots could be showing houses. The guy said to me last night, I just rolled my eyes on that one. But, obviously we're going to be embracing technology in a major way. AI is a big part of it. The website has an AI component to it. We obviously had a couple of kinks when we released, which you're always going to have in technology. I've done technology programs before. I've built technology in my other businesses. I've never had one launch that didn't have things that we were ongoing working, as the process went. But, yeah, it's going to be a big part of everybody's business. It's not just something that everybody's talking about. And the real key, that's why I mentioned the ChatGPT thing, is getting yourself comfortable with all of these things. I do it through OpenAI. So that's that.
I use Claude a lot. And of course, Element Inspirations, which we'll be relaunching again soon, but it is available as completely an AI generated search tool for agents who are working with buyers. And we highly recommend that you get with Jeff Stanton and the Learning and Development team and sign up for a workshop to learn Element Inspirations. It's a really revolutionizing tool for us. So we have a question from Joel up in Westchester. For agents and teams who are considering joining Douglas Elliman, what should they know about the company? This is from an agent who I think has friends that he's trying to recruit to us.
Well, listen, I think you always want to be able to show why you're differentiated from someone else, right? Like no one ever basically says, oh, for me anyway, anytime somebody would ask me about my other businesses, which were obviously very client heavy businesses, this business, which is client heavy from our buyers and, and our agents, to me, are who we work for, right? The agents are the clients, so to speak, right? The agents, and obviously they're partners and we work together, but, it's really for us to show a differentiated business throughout the marketplace, including our agents. So when agents of ours are bringing people over, you want to, number one, obviously, that's why I think culture is such a big deal, right? You want to be on a winning team, right? You want to be on a team that's winning, that's growing and all that. That's why like the earnings, and the condition of the company to an agent, I would argue is what do they give a shit, right? And what does an agent care whether Douglas Elliman does $253 million in revenue or 200? That means their business is still their business, right? But it matters in the sense that, right, you want to be on a winning team. We all want to be on a winning team. And that winning team makes you better. You're surrounded by better people and all that. But from agents that want to come over here, to me, it's relatively a simple thing. I look at, and again, I don't look at just so everybody understands how my mind works. I don't look at our competitors in the sense of, like, what are they doing to drive what I do? Okay, I do what I'm going to do. They're like irrelevant in that standpoint, right? I'm running the ball downfield. I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't spend a lot of time. But when people are coming from places or they work somewhere or they have the ability to go somewhere, obviously you got to show a differentiated business, right? I believe the support that we give to our agents is better than these other places. Okay, I hear it. I see it. I think we're a size at 6,500 agents that is incredibly manageable. Okay. And when I say that, you know, and again, I'm going to come back to the earnings only because it's the result of what I believe is a better model for us. Okay. Us having 20 or 30 or 40,000 agents, okay, takes away from the agent experience. It takes away from the expertise side of the business. It takes away from the ability of being a thought leader in the business. It takes away the ability to be special in what we do, right? I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at businesses, they get too big where they lose their identity, they lose their culture. When I was in the insurance business, you know, I had a relatively, you know, big business, but it was not Aon, Marsh, Willis, these three monstrosities. And the truth of the matter is that they lost their culture. They lost a lot of that. And right now, where we are as a business, okay, we're outperforming without doing a lot of recruiting, right? I mean, we're recruiting, but not really. You know, we just have agents that basically have come to us. We've retained a lot of our great agents. We've been able to do that. And I think that we're at a size of the business where you matter. Okay, you're not going to get lost in the business. Our brand is 100% the most recognizable quality #1 brand in the luxury space. Now, I had an agent in here yesterday that was telling me that her market is 5 to 7 to 10 million. And she wants to get into the 15 and 20 and 25 million. Okay. You can do that with us, right? We're big enough, right, that we are well known throughout the world, forgetting about the markets that we are in. Okay. We're known throughout the world. So you have the ability. We've sold the biggest properties of anybody. Okay. We always have the #1 sale. So you can, #1, if you're a very large agent that's in that market, you're always recognized because we do it. So it's an easy one, right? It's hard to become that when you're not it. And if you're focusing on smaller properties, you're with a firm that sells much bigger properties, right? It makes that $3 or $5 or $7 million property with our name on it that much more unique, status, you know, luxury perceived. So I really believe that between our brand, our #1 sales, you know, in most of it, I believe we give more support to the agents. I think we are extremely accessible. I'm very accessible as a person, you know, to people. I think our management team is very accessible. As I mentioned, our technologies, we're doing things now within this company that we never did before, right? So we even have agents that'll, you know, call me up like a little frustrated, like, oh, I've been here 10 years and we haven't this. I'm okay, but that, you know, why weren't you complaining about it 5 years ago when it didn't happen for 5 more years? We're doing all these things, right? So you're on a train that's moving, right? So we're doing a lot of these things. So for somebody that wants to bring an agent over, I think, you know, we're not a franchise business. We're not a pure name business, okay? We operate it. We own it, okay? We're part of it. We have the largest sales. We have an incredible brand. We're doing things on our technology that's incredible. The company financially is in great shape, okay? So there's a lot of reasons to be with this company. And obviously, if anybody needs help in terms of trying to get agents over that they're talking to, get me on the phone with them. I will talk to anybody you want, whenever. And I will basically explain why I believe, as the CEO, while we are a differentiated business than any of our competitors. So long-winded again, sorry.
It's okay. No, we've got a question from Jessica in Palm Beach. How do you plan to shape or maintain the company culture?
I mean, listen, that's kind of jumps off, right? My comments before. It's a lot easier to have a great culture when you don't want to be a firm that has 40,000 agents, right? So the culture that we have, we're a size, and we could be bigger. Okay, we could have a great culture and have 10,000 agents. We could have another 3,000, 3,500 agents and still maintain the culture, but you can't go to 20, 30, 40,000 agents and maintain culture. It doesn't work. Okay, that law of numbers just does not allow it to be, and we don't want to be at that size. But listen, I think our culture is getting better every day. I think our culture is going to continue that way. I think you're going to see us do some really interesting things, like I said, on the technology side, on the marketing side. And I will tell you, we are working our butts off. This management team, it's not just me, right? It's the whole team. I am not doing this by myself. We've got a great team. We've got a great team in marketing. We've got a great team, you know, in PR. Obviously, Steven's on. He's an incredibly hard worker. His social media team. I'm sure, you know, Jess and Sam and everybody in that team, our marketing teams, our events teams. And we're obviously continuing to hire people and look for great people. And I will also say this, if anyone has anyone from another company or outside the industry, it doesn't have to be someone within this industry, that they think is an incredible person to join our team, please send them in. We are open for business to hire people, okay? We really want to add new people to our team. And what that does is it continues to add to the culture, right? There's nothing better than bringing in new people with new ideas, you know, to add to our culture and bring things that we don't know, shake it up a little bit, which is nice, and bring in some, you know, new blood with our existing, and it makes us all better. So we would love to bring in more people if anybody knows anyone.
We're going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but how do you stay connected with so many employees and agents? How do you stay connected to them? And then there's a follow-up to that.
Well, I will tell you, a lot of people say to me, how do you stay so, well, 7 days a week, 21 hours a day. I mean, that's pretty much how you do it. It's hard. It's not easy to do it, but my other businesses, you know, that's why like everybody kind of says to me, oh, you know, oh my God, it must be like, how are you? My other business was kind of like, I used to get like 400 or 500 emails a day. I returned them all. I was very, very involved in it. I'm involved today. So, you know, listen, there are some days where I'm like, oh my God, I can't handle 5 more questions. It happens to all of us, right? But this is very manageable. Like, I don't feel like I'm in the scenario that, oh my God, my first month or two, oh yeah, it was like that. The first few, I'm gonna say few, I'm not gonna say couple, right? My first 3, until I would say a month or 2 ago, it was pretty insane. But it's very manageable right now. Like I said, I feel very relaxed. You know, as the CEO of the company, I feel everything is really under control. I think I've got plenty of time to do, you know, to do more. As I said, I would love to be on, you know, calls to bring more people in and grow. That's really kind of what I want to do. And so no, very manageable. I feel good. I feel good about it all right now.
It's a good question from Laura Matisse. I'm not sure where she's from, but can you give a quick clarification on our position regarding having our private exclusives platform and how that aligns with our overall values of service, integrity, and market transparency?
Yeah, I love that question. And I'll tell you, you know, again, it gets back to me not really caring about what our competitors do. It's all about what we want to do as a company and what we want to be, right? So I had an experience, and this is really, it kind of formulated our policy a little bit. It's kind of got us to put out Black Label, that idea, and to do this privately within the company, was that when my kids were little, I was moving. And I didn't want my neighbors to know I was moving. My kids were little. I didn't want them being like, oh, are you moving? Are you getting divorced? Did something happen? You know, are you, whatever it may be. I just didn't want it. And I actually was around Douglas Elliman back then. And I had a Douglas Elliman agent that I called, and I said this to her, I really don't want people tracing through my house. I don't want to list it. My neighborhood was like a very appealing neighborhood that like young people wanted to get into. So I figured maybe there was someone out there that's been looking, right? A month went by, it never happened. I ultimately ended up listing the house. And the funny thing is, oh my God, I forgot. I never actually sold the house. I actually ended up knocking it down, okay, and building a new house because my ex-wife who was amazing, but she like didn't want my kids to be taken out of their school. They were in like 4th grade, like they were going to be moving in 2 years anyway. And I really wanted to move to a much bigger house in a different neighborhood, but I went along with her and I ended up knocking the house down. But that was kind of what happened to me. So I understand why somebody wouldn't want to list their house publicly, right? I get it. And then I live in Miami now, okay? And the guy next door to me put his house on the market. It never got listed. He did a private thing. He's a very wealthy guy. It ends up selling for $24 million. They never listed. A week later, someone made a bid for 35. Okay, so that's like the other side of this whole thing. So how I see the world, I believe in choice. Okay, I believe if someone like me back when wanted to didn't want to list their house to the public for all the reasons I mentioned, or whatever it may be. Maybe I wasn't a high profile person, obviously, but you got to educate them on the process, right? They've got to understand that, listen, the cost of privacy may be that the world doesn't see your home and you're going to get less money. And you need to sign and you need to understand it, and we need to educate you and we need to disclose it. You need to understand that disclosure, not just like, oh yeah, by the way, whatever, but really understand it, right? So it's truly all about that education, right? And the other thing is, so that's the key. So as long as you disclose it properly, you really let that seller understand what they're doing. I mean, really let them know. Okay, there's a big difference between kind of saying it and really educating them and sitting down with them. And again, that gets back to being the thought leader, and they will appreciate that, right? They will appreciate that. And everybody knows the guardrail. Everybody knows what terms they're on. So that's really, you know, how I see it. And I would say this also from a business perspective, from our perspective as Douglas Elliman, and I think from your perspective as an agent, right? Way back when, it was like E-Trade, if you remember, where the big institutions didn't want to let you trade on your phone. They would be like, well, no, you can't do it. JP Morgan actually didn't even have a platform. A lot of these companies really fought it, okay? I'm someone that buys and sells stocks on Fidelity on my phone. I probably would have been better off over the last 20 years of having a gatekeeper to tell me, no, don't buy that stock. I would have probably saved it. But you can't deny choice to the public, especially if you're disclosing it properly. And the firms that don't have a private listing platform are living in the past. They're just living in the past, okay? And this company is not going to be that. And you can be both, right? Morgan Stanley went and bought E-Trade, right? So you can have a Morgan Stanley wealth advisor where, hey, I want to get a second opinion before I go buy Meta on my phone, right? Or no, I don't want to pay the trade. I don't want to hear it. I want to have a $2 trade and I'm going to be there, okay? So at the end of the day, you can't fight change. It's no different than me mentioning ChatGPT or whatever. But what you can do is you can work within that environment, right? And again, I said this at that Inman thing. It's all about expertise, okay? If you're sitting down with that seller that really wants private listing and you spend the time with them and you go over it with them, they're going to perceive you as really smart, really thoughtful. And listen, maybe the result of that conversation is they don't go on the platform and they end up listing it and they get more money. Or maybe it's the other way around where it's private and they got someone that's great anyway. But you got to give the choice, but you got to have full disclosure. You got to do it the right way. You got to explain it. And again, it's all about adding value to your seller, your buyer, and everybody else. And if you do that in that way, you become not a broker, you become an advisor to them. And that's really mentally, okay, where I see us as a company being in the future. So there's another long-winded answer.
So last question, it's two-part because I know you've got to get to next appointment. What have been the two biggest takeaways from the company? And this is from an agent on the west coast of Florida in Naples. What have been your biggest takeaways over the past 6 months about the company? And then where do you see the company going in the next couple of years? Like, what's your vision for the company over the next 1, 2, 3 years?
I'll tell you, I don't know if I have I have a lot of takeaways. Okay. So I have a lot of takeaways that I've got from the company. And they're all pretty positive, I will tell you. I don't believe I saw any landmines. Okay. I don't think it's been any crazier than any other business there is. I am a little surprised, I will tell you, at the resilience of this company. Like, again, listen, I'm being honest, right? I mentioned first quarter went from 200 to 253. That wasn't Michael Liebowitz, okay, all there, okay? That wasn't all me. Okay, great. Maybe I'll get the credit. Maybe everybody thinks I'm some genius or whatever. It wasn't, okay? Yeah, I had something to do with the expenses going down. Maybe I had something, it would be nice to think I had something to do with it. I think I probably, brought discipline to the company. I think I brought a different direction and all that. But what it really does show is the reason that I went into this role was because I knew that our brand and the base of this business was built better than our competitors. And that's why, in a really difficult environment, we are outperforming. What was going on wrong was our expenses were a little out of control because, listen, in fairness to my predecessor, okay, the business has changed a lot. in the last 3 or 4 and 5 years. Okay. This was not like, oh, the prior management team was incompetent. Okay. Everybody knows where the direction of this business is, of this industry has been, right? And everybody's out there doing, not running their businesses so well. So I would argue, actually, I'm going to give some kudos to our prior team, okay? Because I'm sorry, I'm not Houdini, okay? I've been here for 6 months, okay? There was obviously things going on that they were doing before me that gave me some wind, okay, at my back. And I think a lot of things about this company from the prior, leadership, Howard, I'll say in particular, he built that new development business from nothing, okay? He brought in a lot of agents. The guy worked his freaking butt off, okay? I knew him, okay, while he was doing this, okay? So I really believe our timing was my timing was pretty good. And I think it's a testament to the Douglas Elliman company that's been around for 100 years, okay, is really an incredible business, okay? And I think that as we go and we see the changes in the industry, I think that we're going to be changing with it. And listen, as I said, I think the prior team was in a very difficult environment, and they left me with something a lot better than I even thought I was getting, right? Maybe I'm getting some of the credit for it, which is okay. But I think that this business is going to endure in a big way. I think we're going to be on the cusp of all the change. I think that agents that have left the company are probably already sorry that they left, okay? But I think you may get some of them back, and if we do, we don't. But I think there's a new generation of ideas and leadership and things that are going to come in this company. And fortunately, we have the financial flexibility to be there when it happens and be smart about it. And I think that's going to benefit our employees, our agents, and everybody. So I feel really good where we are. And that's not some, line because I'm on a podcast and I'm doing, you could just see the progress that we've made and where the company is. I just feel really good, where we are today.
And I think it's 1:20. I think really on that note, it's a good place to stop.
Yeah, I have a 1:30 with an agent at a competitor that wants to talk about coming here. That's where I'm going.
If there are any questions that we didn't get a chance to answer, you can send them to me, slarkin@elliman.com, and we will get them answered for you, or at least get them into the hands of the right people. There's lots of questions about jobs and training for assistants and things like that. We will get those into the right hands of the right people. And we will be back next month, first week of June, with Michael for the second episode of On the House.
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate everybody's time.
Michael, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks.